What is up, guys? Pie Muffin here, and we are back with another Tales of Crestoria video. I almost actually said Tales of the Rays because I'm so used to it. But if you weren't aware, there was a stream last night. Obviously, if you want to watch my kind of hangout with it, that will be the most previous video on the channel, well, stream on the channel, where we just kind of hung out at 7 o'clock in the morning and we watched everything that was shown. But something that was shown that was, and you'll know what this video is about based on the title once I eventually come up with it, was, okay, let's not play that. Let's go a little bit, no. I'm just trying to find the, okay, so right here we see Luke, Velvet Milla, Leon. So this is kind of what I want to talk about here. So obviously, and then there are some other, I don't really have them available right here, but there was some stuff shown in the stream about that there will be, you know, other characters in there. We saw Moggy Lou, we saw Eleanor. So, but what it seems like they're doing here is there will be a couple of the regular Tales characters we're used to in the main story. So I think what they're doing is kind of like an Asteria thing, where they're kind of just rewriting these characters like stories. So Velvet and Milla in this world will not be the same Velvet and Milla from their own games. They're going to have their own story in this world. You know, they grew up in this world and all that stuff, but they're still, you know, Velvet still has the demon arm, and Milla's probably still a wielder of spirits. But yeah, so basically, it's gonna work that way where they're kind of incorporated. Sorry, a notification just randomly popped up on my computer. So they're gonna kind of integrate these characters into this world, and I feel like that's how they'll. Because I was wondering about this. I was wondering about many things. First thing I was wondering about was, how are you gonna make a gacha system for only 6 characters and make it feel fresh? Because even with a game like Danmachi, which, you know, they cycle the same, you know, 20 characters, because Danmachi is a series with not a ton of characters, but they cycle through the same 20 or 30 characters and just give us different variants of that. So I was thinking they're either going to do that, where, you know, our 6 cast members just get like different variants of themselves, but I was like, no, that this is, you know, a Tales game, so it's most likely going to be weapons that we're summoning for. But even then, how many different weapons or arts can you really give to 6 characters? So what I think they're going to do is, yes, for probably the first, you know, couple months of banners, it will focus on the main cast, but I think eventually we'll get actual events where we unlock regular Tales characters, and you can put them in your party, and the banners will, you know, go along with that. And some people like this, some people don't. I understand why people don't, because people wanted this, because this was promoted when this was first talked about at, what was it? I think it was at TGS. It was first talked about, and it was basically said a standalone story. But what they're kind of doing here is, and I used this reference yesterday during my stream, for anyone who's watched Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V or Arc 5, whatever you want to call it, they brought characters like Crow, Jack, Aster Phoenix, you know, Alexis, characters from previous Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. They had a complete different background than they did in their original shows, and it's as if they grew up in that world. So it seems like Crestoria is kind of doing the same thing, where, you know, Velvet, Milla, Luke, Leon, they're all going to be part of this story, living in this world, but they're going to have a different storyline than their original titles. They're just, in name and look alone, and who they are is really all that's being carried over here. I think this could be good or bad. It really depends how they do it. Now, if they go the route of where basically it's focusing way too much on the original Tales characters and not enough on the new cast, that's a bad thing, because the whole point of this is we have a whole new cast of characters. We want them to be fleshed out. We want a good story with this. We don't just want, you know, original Tales fan service throughout this whole game. It's like, yes, it was really cool to see them in the trailer, but I don't want them to overshadow the new cast that we have. I just want them to kind of be like a supporting role, kind of like how they're supposed to be doing with Tales of the Rays. Sometimes it feels like they're involving the main cast a little too much, but that's also different because the main cast in Rays is only 2 characters. Obviously, there are supporting characters that are only from Rays, but, you know, Ix and Melina, they are the cast. So it's a little different because that's only 2 characters, and this is supposed to be like a full Tales game with a full story, which also makes me wonder how they're going to, you know, implement the story, because obviously they're not going to throw the whole story in the game from day one. Like, they're going to release chapters like they do with every Gacha game. But the whole thing is like, I think I'd be fine if they have like 4 or 5 Tales characters from other games as part of the story. Like, I think I'd be fine with that if it makes sense with the story. And then there will be skits in this game, which is really nice. I liked how the skit looks, and they will be fully voiced skits. Now, obviously, if you're an English-speaking person who's going to play the English version of Tales of Crestoria, that's really not going to matter to you because it's still going to be in Japanese, but at least you'll be able to read it. I actually prefer the Japanese voices, so it's actually better for me, and I'll have text to go along with it, so I'll actually know everything that's going on. And then, like I said, there's going to be skits for events. There's going to be, like, sub-stories and stuff like that. And I assume there'll be challenges we have to beat. Because you can't just have a gacha game without events. Like, a lot of people were thinking that this was just going to be, okay, Tales of Crestoria was just going to have a regular Tales storyline. It was going to have no other game modes. Gacha games don't survive that way. Now, if they made this a mobile game that wasn't a gacha, and you had to pay, like, $20 for it, then yeah, they could do whatever they want. But this is in the spirit of a gacha game. So, that's how I kind of see things going, is like, maybe like twice a month we'll have a new event. Well, it'll be like Rays, how we have 2 main events each month. Do the same thing with Crestoria, where you I don't know how leveling and stuff is going to work with these characters, but maybe you can only like awaken them or level them through their events. So maybe you kind of have to build up their rank and stuff. So like, let's say the first event was Lloyd. I'm just going Lloyd because he's my favorite character. So maybe you unlock Lloyd, he's level 1, he doesn't have any rank or anything, and maybe you have to use him in the event constantly to level him up to make him usable. And if you're someone who doesn't use the character during the event, maybe you just have the character and he's, not that... You can level him up to max level, but maybe he won't have the equipment, he won't have the rank, stuff like that. I think that'd be a good way to implement them. And then they stopped doing this for Tales of the Rays. But if you remember in the first arc, there were certain missions where you could only take certain characters based on the story. They haven't really done that in Arc 2. I think they may have done it in the very beginning. I can't really remember too well, but I know for a long time they haven't done it where they didn't allow you to use certain characters. I know in the first arc they did that a lot. There were certain times where, okay, Ix and Melina were split up, so you can only use the character the story is focusing on at the moment because it wouldn't make sense to use those characters. I think they should do that for this. So the first time you go through a story mission, you should only be able to use the characters that are currently in the party at that time. So these event characters that we'll be able to get that have no merit on the story, I would like if they didn't allow you to use those to make it feel like, okay, you're actually doing the story with the characters that are actually with you and not just whoever you feel like using. But, I mean, we have another stream coming in the beginning of January, a little over 2 weeks, possibly around 3. I mean, we know it's in January. I don't know if they actually set a date for when in January, but I assume it's going to be pretty early because I think they'll probably want to get a release date out before the whole Vesperia hype starts up on the 11th. So I would totally see that stream being before the 11th, and I think it'd be really smart of them to kind of, cash in on the whole Tales hype. So release, Crestoria around the same time the Vesperia comes out. Because along with that, you could also have some kind of Vesperia anniversary, maybe bonus login stuff for Crestoria. Because you can bet there's going to be, the main cast members, you'll probably be able to give them the outfits of other Tales characters. I can almost bet that they'll probably do something like that. Or weapons. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to kind of go over how, there's good ways and there's bad ways this whole implementing the Tales characters could be. I did like being able to see, there was a skit with Emil and Marta, so that was kind of cool. I'm just wondering if they're just going to be there as, a story point, or if they're actually going to be playable characters, because I know a lot of Tales fans are not fond of the turn-based aspect of this game, But at the same time, I think they can do a lot more because with the gameplay they showed, they were like really good-looking cinematic attacks. So I would love to see what they could actually do with the Tales characters we've known for so long. Like, they can actually make cinematic moves that aren't just like, oh, we're just swinging our sword over and over. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the original Tales style. Like, I love playing Tales games. But I don't want every mobile game to be the same. So obviously they weren't going to make it like Ray's. Ray's is going to have the original Tales gameplay style. Asteria has its own turn-based kind of thing. And Crestoria is playing like kind of like Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. So let me know what you guys think. How do you think they're going to implement the characters into this game? I'm very curious to know. And also let me know if you were excited for this game. I was so hyped after that stream. I wanted to go back to bed, but I couldn't fall asleep for a little bit because I'm just so excited for this game to come out. But yeah, so leave your comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel. We just got over 300 subscribers, so thank you so much to everyone who's subscribing. Let's aim for 500 now. Let's just keep on growing. Let's grow this Tales family up. And I'll see you all next time.